Have you seen those scary headlines, the ones that say HMRC can just reach into your bank account and take money out? Yeah, it's a pretty worrying thought for any business owner. That's why the experts at ProTax Accountant wanted to put this guide together. We're going to separate the fact from the fear and decode a very specific power called direct recovery of debts, or DRD. Let's get you in the know.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll tackle those headlines head-on. Then we'll get into what direct recovery actually is. We'll walk you through the exact step-by-step process, and trust me, there are a few steps. Most importantly, we're going to cover the safeguards that are there to protect you, how to keep your business safe, and of course, where to go for expert help.
All right, first up, let's talk about those headlines. You know the ones. They're designed to grab your attention and maybe cause a little panic. It's time to get past the clickbait and look at what's really going on.
So you've probably seen a story, maybe about pensioners getting deductions, and you've thought, hang on, could that happen to my business? And look, it's a totally valid question, but headlines rarely give you the full picture. The reality is, well, it's a lot less sudden and a lot more structured than it sounds. So what is this policy that's causing all the fuss? It's called direct recovery of debts. Let's really break down what that means for you and your business.
Okay, here's the official definition. Yes, DRD is a legal power that lets HMRC collect unpaid tax. But the most important words on this slide, measure of last resort. I really want you to remember that. This is not HMRC's opening move. It's the absolute final play after everything else has been tried.
And this right here explains the why. HMRC themselves say this is for the very small group of people who can pay but are just choosing not to. You know, the can pay, won't pay crowd. The whole point is to make the system fair for the huge majority of us who do pay our taxes on time.
Now, something you might find surprising is that this isn't even new. DRD has been on the books since 2015. It was put on pause during the pandemic, and it's only being restarted very cautiously in September 2025 as part of a test and learn phase. This shows a long, careful history, not some sudden new attack on bank accounts.
And here's a pro tip that really puts it all into perspective. In the 2 years leading up to the pandemic, how many times do you think this power was used across the entire United Kingdom? Just 19 times. 19! That's it! This proves DRD is not some common tool. It's a highly targeted measure for very specific extreme cases.
So how on earth does a case even get to that point? Let's walk through the actual process. And you'll want to pay close attention here because it shows just how many chances you have to sort things out long before a bank even gets a phone call.
Look, this is not a one-and-done thing. Let's picture Sarah, a freelance designer in London. If she falls behind on her tax, she's not getting one letter, she's getting multiple letters. If she ignores all of those, then an HMRC agent is required to visit her in person to talk about the debt. Only if she still doesn't sort it out will HMRC tell her bank to freeze the money. But even then, it's not gone. Sarah gets a full 30-day window to object or set up a payment plan. The money is only transferred after every single one of those steps has failed.
That whole long process is a huge safeguard in itself, right? But believe it or not, there are even more protections built right into the system to prevent anyone from falling into hardship. Let's look at those safety nets.
These protections are pretty solid. First off, the debt has to be over £1,000, and it has to be a confirmed debt, not just some estimate. That face-to-face visit, it's also to make sure they identify and exclude anyone who might be vulnerable. And, like we said, you get that 30-day window to object, and you even have the right to appeal in court.
But out of all these protections, there is one that's a real game changer. It's a hard and fast rule that guarantees you're not left high and dry.
And that is the £5,000 guarantee. HMRC is legally required to leave a minimum of £5,000 across all your accounts combined. That is not a suggestion, it's a rule. It's designed specifically to make sure you have money for essential things like rent, bills, or your business payroll.
Okay, so we've gone through the process and the protections. But honestly, the best strategy is to make sure you never even get on this path in the first place. So here's how you stay in control. It really comes down to two choices, two very different approaches. The risky path? That's ignoring letters, hiding your head in the sand, and just hoping the problem goes away, which, spoiler alert, it never does. The proactive path is so much simpler. Just communicate. The second you think you might struggle to pay, you need to talk to HMRC.
And here's another pro tip for you. Your most powerful tool by far is something called a time-to-pay arrangement. It lets you pay what you owe in manageable chunks. And get this, HMRC agrees to 9 out of 10 of these requests. Seriously, they would much rather work with you to get paid than ever have to use their enforcement powers.
So the message couldn't be clearer, right? Proactive communication is everything. Which brings us to our final and maybe most important point, knowing when to get expert help. So let's quickly recap what we've learned. DRD is rare. It is a last resort. There are strong safeguards in place to protect you, like that £5,000 minimum. And what's the biggest takeaway? Communication is your best defense. Ignoring HMRC is the single biggest risk you can take. You are always in control as long as you engage.
Now, just a quick and important disclaimer. The information we've shared here is for general guidance. It's not a substitute for professional tailored advice, so please don't rely on it alone to make big financial decisions.
So that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. Are your tax affairs in perfect order? Or might it be time for a professional health check, just for that complete peace of mind?
Before making any decision, talking to an expert is essential. The team at ProTax Accountants are brilliant with tax debt, compliance, and planning for the future. They are ready to help you navigate all your obligations with confidence. You can reach them on WhatsApp, by phone, or email. Thanks so much for joining us.